Hi there, good Sunday evening. I'm Neil Gordon. Tonight, the answers to your legal questions. Here's what's coming up on our program. In our caller segment, we're going to take your questions about texting and driving and how to protect your rights if you're involved in an auto accident. Give us a call, 803-442-4551. And if you're waiting for your day in court, you may be asking, what's taking so long? Well, we'll explain later on in the show. First, though, Attorney Vic Hawk is here to take a look at one of your email questions. Hello, Vic. How are you?
Fine. How you doing, man?
Super. Excellent. Well, of course, we're talking about being out on the road, and our question from our caller, Luther, our emailer rather, is related to that. He's heard the terms at fault and no fault, Vic, with regard to car accident insurance. He would just like to know, what do those two terms mean?
Yeah. Luther, the answer is very simple. At fault is your liability insurance coverage. So if you were at fault in causing an accident by running a red light and you injure someone else and damage the property, your liability insurance will cover their personal injuries and your property damage that you've caused. Now, with regard to no fault, at least under Georgia law, you can buy coverage called MedPay coverage, which covers you up to a certain limit without regard to fault for any medical treatment that you need. There's also a type of no fault also included in these policies called collision insurance, and even though you were at fault in causing the accident, you can still have coverage regardless of you being at fault under your collision provisions.
We probably ought to take a due time with our insurance agent when we get auto insurance.
Absolutely, and get the uninsured motorist coverage, which we've been telling y'all from time we started this show.
Pennies, and it's worth a lot more.
Absolutely. It's the padding that covers the losses that you never expected.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Luther had a great email question. If you'd like to get involved, there's a couple of ways for you to log on. First of all, you can go to Vic's website, vichawklaw.com, or here to Channel 12's at wrdw.com. They were so kind to give us a nice Click Vic link here in red. If you'll do that, you'll have an opportunity to ask away, and you may be on the next upcoming Law Call program. And tonight we're going to talk about more in relation to auto accidents. I guess we're now at December the 9th, so a couple more weekends with a lot of folks zooming in and out of town. Traffic accidents tend to go up, and this device doesn't help, does it?
No, it doesn't. We're going to talk about texting and driving tonight. You know, there was a study done in Belgium just a few years ago, and they tricked the teenagers into believing the only way they could get a license would be if they could text and go through this controlled road course. And at the conclusion of doing that particular test, here's some of the comments of the students. If this becomes law, I'll stop driving. It's impossible to do. What you're asking is dangerous. And one of the other ones said, people are going to get killed if you require them to text and drive. And that's exactly why we are discussing that in this show. Tonight I'm bringing on Sam Nicholson. Sam Nicholson's a great trial lawyer. He's a good friend. He and I went to law school together. I'm his senior by just a few months, but he is a tremendous trial lawyer, no matter how much of a head start that I get on him. He is one of the super lawyers under the Georgia Trial Lawyers Association and has been able to do some very unique litigation involving texting. Sam, can you tell our viewers what are some of the dangers of texting while driving?
Well, thank you very much, Vic, and those kind words. It's always good to be with you here on this show.
Happy 49th birthday to Vic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. You know, talking on a cell phone while driving is a serious problem, and it really causes a person to be at greater risk, approximately 4 times greater risk of having a wreck than if they were not talking on a cell phone. This has been studied by a group of psychologists, primarily by an individual named Dr. David Strayer with the University of Utah, who has studied this issue for 12 years and has created models and has tested it under every type of condition having simulations out on tracks of people driving and the effects of while they're talking on a cell phone. And he has found that it creates a condition known as inattention blindness, whereas if you probably could realize while you're talking on a cell phone, your attention is diverted from the roadway. And so therefore you get involved in concentrating on your conversation, and then you just aren't aware of what's going on around you or in front of you. So as I stated, he has given the opinion that you're at 4 times greater risk of having a wreck while you're just talking on the cell phone. Now, texting is another subject, and it's worse than just talking on the cell phone. Talking on the cell phone has also been found to create impairment in the driver that's the equivalent of driving at a 0.08 blood alcohol level, which is the legal limit in the state of Georgia. So they have come to the conclusion that while you're talking on a cell phone, you're just as great a risk of having a wreck as if you were driving under the influence of alcohol. Texting, there's a law in Georgia that has been passed that bans texting while driving altogether. There's not that same law for driving while just talking on the cell phone. However, if you're under 18, you cannot talk on a cell phone and drive. You cannot text and drive. And texting applies to everybody. And it's probably a lot simpler to realize that texting while driving it's easy to see that it's going to cause a problem because you're not even looking at the roadway while texting. And invariably, you go down the road and you look over at somebody and you can see them down there just going after it, texting. So it's a real problem. And as I said, there has been scientific evidence to back up that proposition that texting or driving while talking on a cell phone and texting while driving is just as bad as driving under the influence.
Take Amy's call, and then I want to tell y'all, make sure you get your pen and papers out because I'm going to tell you about something that can help your kids later on.
Excellent. Yeah, Amy from Augusta joins us on the telephone. Hello, Amy.
Hi.
We understand that your boyfriend got into an accident and hit somebody from behind. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know we're talking about texting and driving. Was cell phone involved at all?
No, sir, it wasn't.
Okay. What's going on with the insurance claim?
Well, we received a letter from the insurance. Well, the wreck happened within 60 days of him joining their insurance. So they dropped him from coverage, but they're going to handle this claim. But we received a letter saying that they're not advising, but they may suggest that we hire an attorney because his damages may be greater than the amount of coverage that we had, which I'm thinking it was like $50,000. Should we retain an attorney, or what should we do about that?
Sam, you can take
Well, was the wreck was it your husband or your boyfriend's fault?
Boyfriend.
It was his fault?
Yeah, they said he was following too close because the vehicle in front of him swerved to miss the vehicle that was stopped in the road, and he was on top of him before,
Okay. So what it looks like is happening is that the damages to the other person is greater than the amount of coverage that your boyfriend has on his vehicle. Is that correct?
That's what he's claiming,
Okay, and so what has been advised to you, it sounds like that y'all need to get, or your boyfriend needs to get his own attorney, his own personal attorney, because they may try to seek damages from him individually in an amount over and above what his insurance coverage is. So I would suggest that he does consult a lawyer about that.
Okay, good advice. Vic, you want to follow up on text and driving?
Yeah, with regard to your texting and driving, a simple way to help your kids and protect your family is the addition of apps to their cell phones. I went on the internet today looking, and I was real surprised to find that Android has an app called Drive Off. AT&T has an app called Drive Mode. There's another app called Drive Scribe, and then another app called Canary. And each one of these apps allow you to have your child's phone, and generally it's teenagers involved with texting and driving, their child's phone have this app on it, and when they go over 12 to 25 miles an hour, depending on which app you choose, the texting is cut off. You can even cut off their calls. And with Canary, you can actually see where they are, and you can restrict certain areas of the town that they can go into. But most importantly, you can cut off the distractions that they already that they don't already have by way of texting and calls as soon as they build up any speed driving down the road. So there's 4 of them: Drive Off, Drive Mode, Drive Scribe, and Canary. You ought to look it up and consider using it.
And Vic, before we go to the break, you know, kids these days can outmaneuver these apps. Is there a way for kids to disable
Well,
this?
that's a good question, and the answer to that is, I know at least 3 of the 4 apps provide a notification to the parents as soon as the youngster disables the app.
Okay, good, great
And
information.
then one of them actually has an app. One of the apps actually warns them when they go over the speed limit to slow down.
I like it.
Yeah.
Big Brother's watching, but it's all in the name of safety. Hey, we're going to take more of your questions, either related to accidents or texting and driving. We're just trying to keep everybody safe over the next several weeks. Our number 803-442-4551. You're watching News 12 Law Call.
Long time passes before any settlement or trial. Here's what's happening. In the discovery phase, you and your lawyer will need to gather up all of the medical records, your bills, and other proof of your injuries. Some of these must be obtained in a specific way to make them admissible at trial. This just takes time. The other party's lawyers may slow things down by scheduling what seems like an endless number of motions and hearings on motions. They're hoping you'll get tired of waiting and agree to settle for less. If your case doesn't settle, it will go to trial. But trials are on the court schedule, not the lawyer schedule. Having a case that's 2 to 3 years old before going to trial isn't unusual. But if you really have a valid claim, your patience can pay off. That's your legal brief for tonight. I'm personal injury attorney Melissa Detchmundy of the Vic Hawk Law Firm. Back to you.
And thank you, Melissa. And Vic joins us as well as Sam Nicholson from Nicholson Revel Law Firm. We're talking about holiday accidents and issues related to car situations. And Robert from Georgia joins us. And Robert, you were involved in an accident, correct?
That's correct.
And was it a kind of a hit and run?
Well, it wound up to be a hit and run. I was on the phone with 911, and she kept saying, let's just exchange phone numbers. This is the lady that hit me. And I said, well, let's just pull out over in the parking lot. And she says, I got to go to work. We'll exchange phone numbers. Well, I followed her all the way to her job on Washington Road, and a Columbia County deputy on a bicycle was the first there. The whole time she kept saying, my mom's a lawyer. Let's just exchange phone numbers. Well, then a second Columbia County deputy got there, and he went out to the scene of the accident, and he saw my skid marks had went over into the center turn lane. And they came back, and both of them, discussed it, and they said she was clearly at fault. Well, they found out it was in Richmond County line, so I had to wait on Richmond County. So Richmond County deputy came out. He went and looked. He said she came over and hit me.
And Robert, you're concerned that they haven't charged her with any offense, is that right?
Right. I'm concerned. Well, when I picked up the police report from Richmond County, that it said no charge. I can't remember what it says, but it says for no physical evidence because both parties left the scene of the accident.
Right.
The whole time I was on the phone with 911, and they were telling me, I was telling them where I was going, and they said, do what you got to do to get the tag number, but drive safely.
Well,
Go ahead.
I would suggest that you contact an attorney about that and write the person that hit you a letter and put them on notice that you're making a claim against them and have them turn it over to their liability insurance company and have them get in contact with your attorney. That'd be the first thing I'd do there. And then if you don't get a quick response or reasonable response from or a response within a reasonable length of time from that insurance company, then I would contact your own insurance company to see then if you have collision coverage, and then they will pay for the damages to your vehicle.
Well, we go to the other side of the river now. Bill from Aiken joins us. Hi, Bill. How are you?
Doing fine.
Super. All right. Please don't name any names, but we understand you were involved in an accident with...
Well, my wife was involved with an accident with a vehicle that belongs to a municipality in the area, and they were at fault in the wreck, and her car's damaged. She has personal injuries from the accident, and I was just calling to find out what would be the advice of these two fine gentlemen. And of course, went to high school with Sam, so I've known him since '69.
Yeah.
And anyway, my question is, what would be the advantages and disadvantages of contacting an attorney? And should I contact with somebody with that municipality, or should I,
Sam,
approach it from a different standpoint?
since you know Bill, why don't you take that one?
Bill, I don't recognize your voice, but let me say this. I would contact an attorney right away and do exactly what I just said previously, is have that attorney contact the person that hit you, ask that person to turn it over to their liability insurance company, and then and ask that the company contact your attorney as soon as possible. And then again, if you don't get any response within a reasonable length of time, contact your own insurance company and see if you can get your property damages of damage to your vehicle paid by your own insurance company under the collision coverage that you may have with that company.
Well, Vic, sometimes government entities are sort of, what's the word, allowed to
They have
not have to face the music,
That's
if you
right.
will.
That's right. There are a
But-
lot of tricks to suing a government entity.
But if it's a police officer at fault and hits into another car, I mean, they've got to
They can
held
be
to the
held
same
responsible.
standards,
Right.
They're held to the same standard, but there are special rules that apply. And that's why we always tell y'all, don't settle for just a lawyer, settle for a trial lawyer. A trial lawyer is the kind of person that's going to be able to take your case all the way to trial. These people that advertise and they say they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and if they're not real trial lawyers, they're not. And the insurance companies love them. We tell you, don't settle for anything less than a trial lawyer, which means that if you have a trial lawyer, the insurance companies know that there'll be another opportunity to settle after suits file, another opportunity to settle after discovery, another opportunity to settle at mediation, another opportunity to settle just before trial, and then they often really offer decent money during the course of the trial, and they see the maker coming to them.
He's fired up. You better get on the line. 803-442-4551 is our telephone number. Stick around. You're watching News 12 Law Call. Well, thanks so much to Sam Nicholson for appearing on the program. You can reach Sam or his partner Harry tomorrow at the office at 706-722-8784, or you can go online to nicholsonrevel.com. Vic Hawk's website is vichawklaw.com. The best way to get in touch with Vic or his associates, make an appointment at 706-722-3500 with 4 different offices to serve you. We are back with Vic and Sam talking about holiday accidents, preventing them, and dealing with some that have already occurred, such as Robert's from Augusta. Hello, Robert. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great. We understand you totaled your car in another state. Where did this occur?
In Salt Lake City, Utah.
So a long way from home for sure. Now, did they ask you to appear there in Utah?
They did. The accident was about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and my court date was on the 21st of November, and I didn't have the money to get back out to court. And I spoke to the prosecutor, which was originally charged with a DUI, but the blood results came back, and it was dropped reckless driving because there was nothing in my system. And they told me they had to have fingerprints in the system that I have to come back, and if not, a warrant will be issued. And I didn't know if that warrant would follow me in Georgia or if I just need to stay out of Utah.
Great question. Wow.
Well, Robert, the answer to your question is I wouldn't risk it. I would get get my fingerprints done here in Georgia and have them sent to Utah. You can make arrangements with the local sheriff's department up there through the district attorney's office to receive the fingerprints. It's regularly done. We regularly request fingerprints from one agency to another and rely on those. So I think that could satisfy that requirement, especially with you being across the country. Second thing is you need to handle that case there in Utah. And if you can't handle it over the phone, working out a plea and abstention and paying your fine, your license is going to be suspended, and that's going to follow you. Not to mention that warrant that would follow you for not working out what they require of you with regard to your fingerprints. It's very difficult sometimes to work with out-of-state court systems when you've missed a court date, but sometimes, at least I've always found, that if you just pursue it, you can find someone that will work with you within the court system and save you a lot of money and get it resolved. Otherwise, you're going to need to hire local counsel. And if you ever get one up in North Carolina, I'd tell you right now, go ahead and hire the local counsel and get them to handle it. It's a very unique system up there, or you lose your license.
Yeah, and early in the program, Vic, you talked about the critical importance of having uninsured motorist coverage, and I know,
right.
Sam,
I wanted to add one thing to what Vic said about that. I've recently run into the situation a couple of times where there are two different types of uninsured motorists. One is called the reduced uninsured motorist, and the other is excess or add-on uninsured motorists. And I would recommend wholeheartedly that you purchase the add-on uninsured motorist because it provides you with more coverage than the reduced type of uninsured motorist. I don't have enough time to explain all the ramifications of it, but other just to say that the add-on coverage provides you with more coverage than the reduced coverage. So purchase the add-on or excess coverage.
Right. And usually you'll need the add-on when you get involved in an accident with a person that has been causing a lot of accidents. They got minimum coverage and they've caused major injury to you or your family.
Well, thanks both to Vic and also Sam. Great information, great questions. Next time we'll talk about dangerous or defective products. We hope you have a wonderful work week ahead.
Thank y'all for calling.